Hello, welcome to Rona's Teaching Ministries, and this is video 2 of the Satir model. So today I'm going to share with you how to use the personal iceberg intrapsychic model and the coping stances, and we'll apply it to a case study of a girl who is having some problems with her boyfriend. So the question we want to ask is, why do women fall for bad boys? In Chinese, there is a saying, 男人不坏,女人不爱, which means if the man is not naughty or bad, the woman won't fall for him. So why do women fall for bad boys? First, we have to understand the underlying feelings, thoughts, expectations, yearnings, and what drives an individual. Next, we'll look at the personal iceberg. This was pioneered by Virginia Satir, the great family therapist. And it's an intrapsychic model of how we feel and think inside. We'll also look at the coping stances that are unhelpful. And human beings have 4 unhelpful coping stances. In the Satir model, we'll learn how to have healthy relationships and how to let go of toxic relationships. So this channel is for you if you're an aspiring student of counseling or if you're just interested in personal development and growth. Okay, so we're going to apply the iceberg, the coping stances, and look at the case of a girl who has a boyfriend who's not good for her. He cheats on her, puts her down, makes use of her, and yet she cannot let go. So if we look at the intrapsychic model, which was pioneered by Virginia Satir, this is a very elegant model of how a human being is actually like. Our behavior, which is 1/10 above the water, actually shows just our action and the storyline. And also, the 4 negative coping stances or unhelpful coping stances are also found above the waterline. These coping stances that are unhelpful include blaming, placating, irrelevance, and super reasonable. Now, below the waterline is 9/10 of what is actually a human being thinking, feelings about feelings, perceptions, expectations, yearnings, and the sense of self or the life force. So if we use the Satir model to understand our clients, we'll be able to understand that the surface behavior is only 1/10 of the actual human experience. What is actually more important is 9/10. What is below the waterline? What is the rest of the iceberg? And inside this iceberg, the intrapsychic model will be our human being feelings, which it can include joy, excitement, enchantment, anger, hurt, fear, sadness. It can include feelings about our feelings. So, for example, we may feel guilty about feeling angry. Perhaps in our family of origin, we were not allowed to express feelings of anger. The other layer below that is our perceptions, our beliefs, our assumptions, our subjective reality, our thoughts, our ideas, and our values. It's what we think and how we perceive things. Even deeper is our expectations, what we expect of ourselves, of others, and from others. And often we are stuck at the level of expectations because we expect a lot from ourselves. If we have very high expectations and overly high expectations of ourselves, then we will often feel very frustrated, angry, and upset when we cannot achieve this expectation. We may also have expectations of others that are spoken or unspoken, and we may have expectations from others, which are also spoken or unspoken. I'll delve deeper into expectations in another video and how do we resolve unmet expectations. So look out for that video in the coming weeks. In the second deepest layer of the iceberg are our yearnings. Now, yearnings are universal, and there's nothing wrong with having yearnings, with having wishes and dreams, We all have them. It's part of being human. We all want to be loved, to be accepted, to belong, and we all want to be creative, to connect deeply with each other, and to have the freedom of choice. The deepest layer is ourself, our energy, our life force, our core, or our being. The deeper we go into the iceberg, the more we are revealing our deepest intimate feelings and thoughts and our sense of self. So if we want to help the client to move forward, we would ask her, what is your yearning for yourself? What is your wish for yourself? What is a dream you have that you have not yet fulfilled? If we apply this to the case of the girl who is being abused by her boyfriend, it may help her to unlock some wishes and some dreams and be able to see possibilities in the future and hope for herself because she realizes that there are still dreams and wishes that she has and that she yearns to have a partner who will love her and treat her with respect. Now, let's apply this iceberg model to the girl who is being abused. 1/10 above the iceberg, you would think that she's just a girl who's very helpless and very placating, very powerless. And you may feel frustrated with her. But if we look at her from a perspective of the intrapsychic model, and you look at her personal iceberg, you as a therapist or counselor will be able to understand her at a much deeper level, and you'll be much more empathetic. You'll be able to ask her questions which will help elicit responses which show her feelings about her feelings, her perceptions, her expectations, her yearnings, and herself. So if we use this to analyze how to help this client who is being abused, we could ask her, how do you feel when your boyfriend mistreats you? And the answer might be, I feel very sad and I feel very depressed. You as a therapist or counselor would empathize and share with her. I hear your pain, I hear your sadness, and I feel for you. You may ask her feelings about her feelings. For example, if she says, I don't dare to get angry, I'm not allowed to get angry, because when I was growing up, only my father was allowed to shout and raise his voice and beat us, but we are not allowed to get angry in the family. So if you know this about her as a counselor, you would know that she has feelings about her feelings. You would then know that she has this aversion towards feeling angry. She does not want to feel angry because she's scared. She feels guilty or bad about feeling angry. The other question you could ask her is, how do you see yourself in this relationship? Where do you see this relationship going? What would you like out of this relationship? This would tap her beliefs, her assumptions, her thoughts, her ideas, and her values. To tap her expectations, you could ask her, what do you expect of your boyfriend moving forward in this relationship? Or what do you expect from yourself in terms of relating to him? For the yearnings component, you could ask her, what is your yearning for the future? What is your wish or dream for yourself? And finally, for the life force, you could appreciate her strengths. You could appreciate what gives her this self-worth. And for example, you could say, you come across as a lady who values relationships, and I can see you have a very gentle spirit, and you are very loving and kind. We want to help the client, including people such as this lady who is being abused, to understand that the coping stances that are negative would include blaming, And this is one of the coping stances. And people who are blaming are often violent, hostile, scolding, putting down, nagging, aggressive. They think there is nothing wrong with them. They negate others and they tell others, it's all your fault. They discount other people's feelings. They need to be more concerned about others and less toxic. Often, people who are blaming attract people who are placating. So, partners or husbands and wives will often have one partner who is blaming and another partner who is placating. People who use placating as a coping stance are often seen as weak. They're very dependent upon others. They cannot say no. They are often treated as though they are doormats. They're bullied, overly submissive. They feel very helpless and disempowered. They want to be loved at all costs, even when the person they love is abusing them physically, emotionally, psychologically. They will discount their own feelings that they are not important and they want to be loved by the other person, even though the other person may be bad for them and disrespects them. People who use placating as a coping stance need to be kind to themselves. The third stance is the super reasonable coping stance. People who use this stance are always correct. They think that they are always right and they are always rationalizing. They are like a robot. They're very rigid, principled, objective, obsessive, rational, and structured. They discount their own and other people's feelings, and they need to be more in touch with feelings. People who are super reasonable often attract people who are irrelevant. These people will use irrelevancy as a coping stance, and they are erratic, they are hyperactive, they make inappropriate comments, they are disruptive, but on the plus side, they're fun, spontaneous, and creative. They're often very dreamy and they're childlike. They may say very irrelevant things or do very irrelevant things, such as wearing red to a funeral, or they may be, cracking jokes when people are mourning or very sad. So they discount their own and other people's feelings. They're not in tune with the current context. We need to help these clients to feel centered and to feel safe and to become more grounded and to be able to be in touch with themselves, with the others, and with the context. Going back to super reasonable, people who are super reasonable will use their mind too much, but leave out their feelings. And they will also discount other people's feelings. They will dismiss other people's feelings. So, for example, they would say something like, your grandmother has already passed away. Everybody passes away. So you don't need to feel sad because passing away is part of life. So that is something that is very cold. And people who are super reasonable will use this kind of posture in relating to others and in relating to the world. People who are super reasonable will often attract people who are irrelevant. If you found the information here helpful so far, please do like, share, and subscribe. Now, for the congruent coping stance, people who use congruent coping stances are alive, healthy, creative, integrated, unique, confident, competent, and congruent. They acknowledge their own as well as other people's feelings and the context of the situation. So, if we look back at our case study of the girl who's being abused by her partner, we want to help her to be able to understand what is a congruent coping stance and to help her see her own strengths as well as be able to acknowledge her own feelings, thoughts, her self-worth, and to be able to take into account her own needs. So she would then be able to count in herself, others and the context. We want to be able to help her to understand that blaming as a coping stance is very unhelpful, and that her partner is using blaming as a coping stance, while she is using placating as a coping stance. And we want to empower her so that she does not need to use this placating coping stance anymore, but that she can be congruent and that she can stand up for herself and not be a doormat. God loves all of us. The word says, I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. So we want to help people to understand that they are beautiful creations. They are people of worth. And in today's model, we learned the iceberg model and how 1/10 of the behavior is above the surface and 9/10 of the behavior is below the surface. As counselors, we want to be able to look beyond the surface behavior to the deeper, innermost aspects of a human being, and that would be the 9/10 below the surface. Secondly, we learn the 4 coping stances, which are negative. They are blaming, placating, super reasonable, and irrelevant. And we learned that the congruent coping stance is the most empowering stance for ourselves. 3 takeaways. Let's reflect and journal. What is my personal coping stance? Secondly, how do I move towards a congruent coping stance? And third, how can I use the iceberg model to understand myself and my clients? Only when we understand ourselves can we empower others. Only when we are self-aware can we help others. So if you like today's video, please do like, share, and subscribe. These are the references. And again, a gentle reminder, please, that this set of videos is not meant for counseling your individual issues. If you have individual issues, please do seek a professionally trained counselor. It's not meant to replace professional counseling and therapy. I hope the video was helpful for you and you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for your time today, and I'll see you in the next video. Please do like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day ahead.